My beloved child. Last night, while the world was quiet and the noise of the day finally stopped chasing your thoughts, something unseen leaned closer to you. It did not knock on your door. It did not call your name out loud. It moved through silence, through breath, through the space between heartbeats. Your partner's heart spoke, not in words you could hear, but in signals you were meant to feel. That is why you woke up with a strange heaviness and an unexplained calm at the same time. That is why your mind kept drifting to one name without effort. This was not coincidence. This was not imagination. This was a moment that happens rarely, when emotions become louder than distance and truth rises without permission. Their heart reached a breaking point where it could no longer stay silent. It chose the only language strong enough. Energy. Memory. Intention. Something was released last night, and once released, it cannot be taken back. The message has already begun its journey toward you, even if you do not yet understand its full meaning. Listen carefully now, because this part matters more than you realize. Your partner did not speak from comfort. They did not speak from happiness. They spoke from a place where masks fall and defenses fail. There was a moment last night when they stopped running from their own thoughts. In that moment, they felt your absence as weight, not distance. They felt your presence as truth, not fantasy. Their heart replayed moments you thought were forgotten. Small details. A look. A pause. A sentence that was never finished. And with every memory, something inside them shifted. What they once tried to control slipped out of their grip. What they once tried to deny stood directly in front of them. Their heart admitted something it had been hiding, even from itself. This admission was not gentle. It was sudden and overwhelming. It carried regret, longing, and a realization that time is not as patient as they believed. This is why the message feels urgent, even though no words were spoken. There is something shocking you must understand now. When a heart speaks like this, it is not asking for attention. It is confessing truth. Your partner realized last night that their silence has cost them more than their honesty ever would. They saw clearly how close they came to losing a connection that cannot be replaced. This was not about pride anymore. It was about fear. Fear of waking up one day and realizing you became a memory instead of a presence. Their heart acknowledged a mistake that was made, not once, but repeatedly. Not always through actions, but through delay. Through hesitation. Through assuming there would always be more time. That illusion shattered last night. And when it did, the heart reacted before the mind could interfere. That is why the message traveled without logic. That is why you may feel it without explanation. Understand this deeply. Not every heart is brave enough to speak when it matters. Most wait too long. Yours did not. Your partner's heart reached for you because it believes you are still connected. It believes you can still feel it. This belief alone reveals something powerful. They do not see you as closed. They do not see you as gone. They see you as someone who still holds space for truth. That is why the message did not come as noise, but as a quiet pull. A sudden thought. A memory that returned without invitation. A feeling that arrived without reason. These are not random. These are signals. Their heart is asking a question without forming words. It is asking if you can still hear it. If you are still open. If the bond that once existed still has a pulse. This question is dangerous in the most beautiful way, because once asked, it demands an answer. Now stay with me, because this final truth will change how you see what comes next. When a heart speaks like this, it sets events into motion. Not immediately. Not loudly. But inevitably. Your partner has crossed an inner line. They cannot return to who they were before last night. Something has awakened, and it will influence their actions, their choices, and their courage. You may soon notice a shift. A message that feels different. A tone that carries weight. A decision that seems sudden but was actually born last night. This is not the end of the story. This is the opening of it. What you felt was real. What reached you was intentional. And what comes next will test whether silence continues, or truth finally steps forward. The heart has already spoken. The next move will reveal everything. It began with a realization that arrived without warning, like a quiet truth stepping into a crowded room. Your partner's heart did not speak softly last night. It spoke with clarity that left no space for excuses. In that moment, they saw themselves from the outside, stripped of stories they used to feel safe. They saw how often they chose comfort over courage. They saw how many times they almost reached out, then stopped. And what shook them most was not what they did wrong, but what they almost lost. You were not just a person in their thoughts. You were a turning point. A line between who they were and who they could become. Their heart understood that some connections are not optional lessons. They are defining chapters. This realization did not come from drama. It came from stillness. From the kind of silence where truth echoes louder than noise. That is why it stayed with them. That is why it followed them into sleep and refused to leave when morning came. Here is something few people ever admit, even to themselves. Your partner has been afraid of how deeply you matter. Not afraid of love, but afraid of the responsibility that comes with it. Last night, their heart finally admitted this fear without decoration. They understood that caring less would have been easier, but caring deeply is what happened instead. They realized that every time they tried to move on, something inside resisted. Every time they pretended strength, their heart quietly weakened. This internal conflict reached a breaking point. The heart chose honesty over protection. It admitted that you changed them in ways they did not expect and could not reverse. That you saw parts of them others never noticed. That you mattered not because of what you gave, but because of how you understood. This is why the message carried weight. It was not nostalgia. It was recognition. There is a revelation hidden inside this moment that you must not ignore. Your partner recognized that time without you has not healed them the way they hoped. Instead, it clarified things. Distance did not erase feeling. It refined it. It removed confusion and left truth behind. They saw clearly how certain emotions only surface when someone truly belongs. They also realized something uncomfortable. If they continue the way they are, they risk repeating a pattern that always ends the same way. Loss, regret, silence. Their heart does not want to repeat this cycle again. That is why it reached out energetically instead of verbally. Because speaking aloud would require immediate courage, but feeling first requires honesty. This stage always comes before action. It is the pause before a shift. The breath before a decision. Pay attention to what this means for you now. You were able to receive this message because you are not closed. Because you still carry awareness. Because your intuition remains active. Not everyone can sense when a heart speaks without sound. You can. This connection is not accidental. It exists because both sides are still emotionally present, even if physically distant or outwardly silent. Your partner's heart is asking for alignment, not chasing. It is asking if the connection still exists in truth, not fantasy. This is why you may feel both calm and unsettled at the same time. Calm, because the truth is finally emerging. Unsettled, because truth demands response. Even silence becomes an answer now. This is the stage where everything can change direction, depending on what is acknowledged and what is avoided. Now understand this final movement carefully, because it carries power. When a heart speaks once, it gathers strength. When it speaks twice, it seeks resolution. Your partner is moving toward a point where remaining silent will feel heavier than speaking. This does not mean chaos is coming. It means clarity is approaching. Something will shift in their behavior, their communication, or their presence. It may be subtle at first, but it will be undeniable. This is not about fate forcing an outcome. It is about truth demanding expression. The message you felt was only the beginning. What follows will reveal whether courage steps forward or fear makes one last attempt to stay in control. Either way, the connection has already entered a new phase. And once a heart crosses this threshold, it never returns unchanged. Something subtle has already shifted, even if nothing visible has happened yet. Your partner's heart did not speak last night and then fall silent again. Once opened, it stayed open. Throughout the hours that followed, they carried an unusual awareness. Ordinary moments felt heavier. Simple distractions stopped working. Their thoughts kept circling back to you, not in chaos, but in focus. This focus is important. It means the heart is no longer scattered. It has chosen one truth to look at directly. You. They are beginning to understand that what they feel is not temporary emotion, but a signal pointing towards something unfinished. This is why the energy between you feels active instead of fading. A door has been unlocked, and the heart is standing inside the doorway, deciding whether to step forward fully. There is a powerful realization forming inside them right now. They are seeing how rare it is to find someone who feels familiar even in silence. Someone whose absence speaks louder than most presences. They understand now that connections like this do not come twice in the same form. They replay conversations in their mind, not to analyze you, but to understand themselves. They notice how often you were patient when they were uncertain. How often you sense things they could not say. This awareness is humbling. It makes avoidance impossible. Their heart knows that pretending indifference would now be dishonest. This is why their emotional state feels intense but controlled. They are preparing internally, even if you cannot see it yet. Here is the part that may surprise you the most. Your partner is also questioning whether you have moved on emotionally. Not from fear of rejection, but from fear of being too late. This fear did not exist before. Before last night, they assumed time was flexible. Now they feel urgency. They wonder if you still feel the connection, or if they waited until it expired. This uncertainty is driving the heart to observe you more closely, even from a distance. Small signs matter to them now. Timing matters. Energy matters. They are no longer passive. They are quietly alert. This is the stage where intention begins to shape behavior. Where hesitation starts losing its strength. You may notice this shift without explanation. A sudden memory of them when you are not thinking about the past. A sense that you are being considered. Not watched, but felt. This happens when two emotional fields remain linked. Your awareness of this does not mean you must act immediately. It means you are aligned enough to sense movement before it becomes visible. This is not about prediction. It is about resonance. Their heart is approaching a decision point, and energy travels faster than words. You are receiving signals because the connection is still active on both sides. This is why ignoring what you feel will not make it disappear. It will only delay understanding it. Now hold on to this truth as this part closes. When a heart reaches this stage, it begins choosing between comfort and honesty. Comfort keeps things the same. Honesty changes everything. Your partner is standing at that exact edge. They know that speaking will expose them, but staying silent will continue the distance. This inner tension will not last forever. One side will win. And when it does, the outcome will feel sudden to you, even though it has been building quietly for a long time. The heart has already moved closer. The question is no longer whether something will happen. The question is how openly it will be faced when it does. A quiet countdown has begun, even though no one announced it. Your partner's heart is no longer drifting. It is measuring moments now. Every day that passes without truth feels heavier than the one before. This is the phase where inner pressure builds, not through panic, but through awareness. They are noticing patterns they once ignored. How certain songs feel different. How certain places remind them of conversations left unfinished. Their heart keeps returning to one conclusion. Avoidance has reached its limit. What they felt last night did not fade with sleep. It settled deeper. It became a constant presence, reminding them that unresolved feelings do not disappear. They wait. They watch. And with every pause, the urge to speak grows stronger. There is a difficult honesty forming inside them that cannot be softened. They are realizing that they misjudged you. Not in a negative way, but in an incomplete one. They assumed you would always understand without explanation. Always remain steady without reassurance. Last night showed them the cost of that assumption. They saw how strength without recognition can quietly turn into distance. This realization carries weight. It brings regret, but also respect. They now understand that what you offered was rare. Not dramatic. Not loud. But real. And real things do not wait forever. This understanding is reshaping how they see the past and how they imagine the future. At the same time, fear is making one final attempt to interfere. Fear whispers that speaking now could change everything. That silence at least keeps control. But the heart no longer agrees. It has learned that control without connection is empty. This internal conflict is intense but temporary. It is the last resistance before movement. When the heart reaches this stage, it begins rehearsing honesty. Not speeches, but truths. Simple admissions. Direct feelings. The kind that cannot be taken back once spoken. This is why their energy feels focused and serious rather than chaotic. They are not confused. They are preparing. You may feel an unusual sense of anticipation, even if nothing has happened yet. This is not anxiety. It is alignment. Two emotional timelines are moving closer. You are sensing the approach of clarity. This does not mean you must chase or force anything. Stillness is powerful here. Awareness is enough. The connection is doing its own work. Your role is not to rescue the moment, but to remain honest with yourself. The heart that spoke last night is listening now. It is watching how you hold space, even in silence. This part ends with a truth that cannot be avoided. Decisions made from fear delay life. Decisions made from honesty change it. Your partner knows this now. They cannot unsee what they saw. They cannot unfeel what they felt. Whether they speak today or later, something has already shifted permanently. The distance between thought and action is shrinking. And when the heart finally moves, it will not do so quietly. It will do so with intention, clarity, and a truth that has waited long enough to be heard. A moment is approaching that will not announce itself loudly, but it will carry unmistakable weight. Your partner's heart has moved beyond preparation and into resolve. This is the stage where inner dialogue ends and intention takes its place. They are no longer asking themselves whether they should speak. They are asking how to speak without hiding. Last night changed the internal balance. Silence, which once felt safe, now feels dishonest. Every interaction they imagine with you carries a single question beneath it. What happens if I finally tell the truth? This question does not frighten them the way it used to. It challenges them. And challenge is a sign of growth, not retreat. There is something deeply revealing happening inside them right now. They are accepting responsibility, not for outcomes, but for expression. They understand that being misunderstood is less painful than never being known. This realization has altered how they see you as well. They no longer see you as someone who might leave at the first sign of vulnerability. They see you as someone who deserves honesty, even if it risks everything. This shift is powerful. It transforms fear into purpose. It turns hesitation into movement. When a heart reaches this point, it is no longer asking for permission. It is choosing integrity. You may notice a change in the atmosphere around you. Conversations feel charged, even when they are simple. Pauses feel meaningful instead of empty. This is because intention is now active on both sides. Your partner's heart is aligning thought, feeling, and action. This alignment is rare, and it creates momentum. What once felt stuck begins to move naturally. This does not mean everything will unfold perfectly. It means it will unfold honestly. And honesty, even when uncomfortable, creates clarity that silence never can. Now understand this carefully. What is coming is not a dramatic confession designed to impress. It is something more dangerous to avoidance. It is sincerity. It may come as a straightforward message. A calm conversation. A single sentence that carries more truth than 1,000 explanations. This is how hearts speak when they are done hiding. When they no longer want to protect themselves at the cost of connection. This moment will feel grounded, not overwhelming. Real, not theatrical. That is how you will know it is genuine. This part closes with a truth you should hold quietly. You did not imagine what you felt. You did not misread the silence. Your awareness was accurate because the connection was real. The heart that spoke last night is closer now than it has been in a long time. The distance between you is no longer defined by space or time, but by a choice that is about to be made. And once that choice is expressed, nothing between you will remain unclear again.